Ciao Bella, welcome to another episode of Reading with Bella. We are in the car today. It is an in the car episode, so if you see me glance around a little bit, there are cars and other things whizzing by, mainly mopeds and motorcycles, but you can see them passing as we are going to be reading today. So we are going to continue with Jabberwocky. Now, the name of this is Jabberwocky, but Jabberwocky is just a part of this, right? So this is a collection of things, and we are still in the Phantasmagoria and Other Poems section, which was published in 1869. So we are going to start with a Valentine. And this was written February 13th, 1860. And it says, "To a friend at Radley College who had complained that I was glad enough to see him when he came, but did not seem to miss him if he stayed away. And cannot pleasures, while they last, be actual, unless when past, they're leaving us shuddering and aghast, with anguish smarting? And cannot friends be fond and fast, and yet bear parting? And must I then, at friendship's call, calmly resign at the little all, trifling, I grant, it is, and small, I have of gladness, and lend my being to thrall of gloom and sadness? And think you that I should be dumb and full of dolorum omnium, excepting when you choose to come and share my dinner, at other times be sour and glum, and daily thinner? Must he then only live to weep, who'd prove his friendship true and deep, by day a lonely shadow creep, at night rest badly, oft muttering in his broken sleep, the name of Radley? The lover, if for certain days his fair one be denied his gaze, sinks not in grief and wild amaze, but, wiser wooer, he spends the time in writing lays and posts them to her. And if he be an Oxford don, or Johnson's learned sock be on, a touching Valentine anon the post shall carry, when 13 days are come and gone of February. Farewell, dear friend, and when we meet in desert waste or crowded street, perhaps before this week shall fleet, perhaps tomorrow, I trust to find your heart the seat of wasting sorrow." The next one is called a Sea Dirge. "There are certain things, as a spider, a ghost, the income tax, gout, an umbrella for 3, that I hate. But the thing that I hate the most is a thing they call the sea. Pour some salt water over the floor, ugly I'm sure you'll allow it to be. Suppose it extended a mile or more, that's very like the sea. Beat a dog till it howls outright, cruel but all very well for a spree. Suppose that he did so day and night, that would be like the sea. I had a vision of nursery maids, tens of thousands passed by me, all leading children with wooden spades, and this was by the sea. Who invented those spades of wood? Who was it cut them out of the tree? None, I think, but an idiot could, or one that loved the sea. It is pleasant and dreamy, no doubt, to float, with thoughts as boundless and souls as free. But suppose you are very unwell in the boat, how do you like the sea? But it makes the intellect clear and keen. Prove it, how can it be? Why, what does B sharp in music mean, if not, then, the natural sea? What, keen? With such questions as, when's high tide? Is shelling shrimps an improvement to tea? Or donkeys adapted for man to ride? Such are thoughts by the sea. There is an insect that people avoid, whence is derived the verb to flee. Where have you been by it most annoyed? In lodgings by the sea. If you like coffee with sand for dregs, a decided hint of salt in your tea, and a fishy taste in those very eggs, by all means choose the sea. And if you, with these dainties to drink and eat, you prefer not a vestige of grass or tree, and a chronic state of wet in your feet, then I recommend the sea. For I have friends who dwell by the coast. Pleasant friends they are to me. It is when I am with them that I wonder most that anyone likes the sea. They take me a walk, though tired and stiff, to climb the heights I madly agree. And after a tumble or so from a cliff, they kindly suggest the sea. I try the rocks, and I think it cool that they laugh with such an excess of glee, as I heavily slip into every pool that skirts the cold, cold sea. Once I met a friend in the street, with wife and nurse and children 3. Never again such a sight may I meet as that party from the sea. Their looks were sullen, their steps were slow. Convicted felons they seemed to be. Are you going to prison, dear friend? Oh no, we're returning from the sea. Okay. This next one is called Carpette Knyghte. I have a horse, a right good horse. Nay, do I envy thee, who scour ye plain and heady course, till sodden on their nose they light with unexpected force. Yet it is a horse of clothes. I have a saddle, sayest thou so, with stirrups knight to boot? I said not that, I answer no, ye lacketh such I woot. It is a mutton saddle, lo, part of ye fleece brute. I have a butt, a right good butt, as shall be seen in time. Ye jaw of horse, it will not fight, its use is more sublime. Fair sir, how deemest thou of it? It is thy butt of rhyme. Okay. This one is called Hiawatha's Photographing. Now there is a little paragraph that I'm going to read. This one is kind of lengthy, but I'm going to read the paragraph and then read the poem. In these days of imitation, I can claim no sort of merit for this slight attempt at doing what is known to be so easy. Anyone who knows what verse is, with the slightest ear for rhythm, can throw off a composition in the easy running meter of The Song of Hiawatha. Having then distinctly stated that I challenge no attention in the following little poem, it is merely verbal jingle. I must beg the candid reader to confine his criticism to its treatment of the subject. Okay, so here's the poem. From his shoulder Hiawatha took the camera of rosewood, made it of sliding folding rosewood, neatly put it all together. In its case it lay compactly, folded into nearly nothing, but he opened out the hinges, pushed and pulled the joints and hinges, till it looked all squares and oblongs like a complicated figure in the second book of Euclid. This he perched upon a tripod, as the family in order sat before him for their pictures. Mystic, awful was the process. First, a piece of glass he coated with collodion, and plunged it in a bath of lunar caustic, carefully dissolved in water. Then he left it certain minutes. Secondly, my Hiawatha made a cunning hand mixture of the acid pyrogallic and the glacial acidic, and of alcohol and water. This developed all the picture. Finally, he fixed each picture with a saturate solution of a certain salt of soda. Chemists call it hyposulfite. Very difficult is the name for a meter like the present, but periphrasis has it done it. All the family in order sat before him for their pictures. Each in turn, as he was taken, volunteered his own suggestions, his invaluable suggestions. First, the governor, the father, he suggested velvet curtains, looped about a massy pillar in the corner of the table, of a rosewood dining table. He would hold a scroll of something, hold it firmly in his left hand. He would keep his right hand buried, like Napoleon, in his waistcoat. He would contemplate the distance with a look of pensive meaning, as of ducks that die in tempests. He would gaze into the distance. Grand heroic was the notion, yet the picture failed entirely. Failed because he moved a little, moved because he couldn't help it. Next, his better half took courage. She would have her picture taken. She came dressed beyond description, dressed in jewels and in satin, far too gorgeous for an empress. Gracefully she sat down sideways, with a simper scarcely human, holding in her hand a nosegay rather larger than a cabbage. All the while that she was taking, still the lady chattered like a monkey in the forest. "Am I sitting still?" she asked. "Is my face enough in profile? Shall I hold the nosegay higher? Will it come into the picture?" And the picture failed completely. Next, the son, the stunning Cantab. He suggested curves of beauty, curves pervading all his figure, which the eye might follow onward, till they centered in the breastpin, centered in the golden breastpin. He had learned it all from Ruskin, author of The Stones of Venice, 7 Lamps of Architecture, Modern Painters, and some others. And perhaps he had not fully understood the author's meaning, but whatever the reason, all was fruitless, as the picture ended in a total failure. Next to him, the eldest daughter. She suggested very little, only asked if he would take her with a look of passive beauty. Her idea of passive beauty was a squinting of the left eye and a drooping of the right, was a smile that went up sideways to the corner of the nostrils. Hiawatha, when she asked him, took no notice of the question, looked as if he hadn't heard it, but when pointedly appealed to, smiled in a peculiar manner, coughed and said it didn't matter, bit his lip and changed the subject. Nor in this was he mistaken, as the picture failed completely. So in turn the other sisters. Lastly, the youngest son was taken. Very rough and thick his hair was, very dusty was his jacket, very fidgety his manner, and his overbearing sister called him names he disapproved of, called him Johnny, Daddy's darling, called him Jackie, scrubby schoolboy. And so awful was the picture, in comparison the others might have been thought succeeded, to have partially succeeded. Finally, my Hiawatha tumbled all the tribe together. Grouped is not the right expression. And as happy chance would have it, did at last obtain a picture where all the faces succeeded. At each came out a perfect likeness. Then they joined and all abused it, unrestrainedly abused it, as the worst and ugliest picture they could have possibly dreamed of, giving one such strange expressions, sulkiness, conceit, and meanness. Really anyone would take us, anyone who did not know us, for the most unpleasant people. Hiawatha seemed to think so, seemed to think it not unlikely. All together rang their voices, angry, loud, discordant voices, as of dogs that howl in concert, as of cats that wail in chorus. But my Hiawatha's patience, his politeness and his patience, unaccountably had vanished, and he left that happy party. Neither did he leave them slowly with that calm deliberation, that intense deliberation, which photographers aspire to, but he left them in a hurry, left them in a mighty hurry, vowing that he would not stand it. Hurriedly he packed his boxes, hurriedly the porter trundled on a barrow all his boxes, hurriedly he took his ticket, hurriedly the train received him. Thus departed Hiawatha. All right, I think we might do one more. What do you say? What do you say? Let me see how long the next one is. We might do 2 more. I wonder how long this section is. I don't look at this ahead of time. Maybe I should. But I don't. I don't. So, I don't know. Oh, this section is going to take a while. This is the rest of the section. So yeah, we'll do 2 more, and then we'll call it. Because I don't ever know how long to make these videos. I'm never certain, because I don't know. For those people that do watch them, and I do get several views, no one comments if it needs to be longer or shorter. No one ever tells me. Alright. The Lang Coortin. The lady stood at her lattice high, with her doggie at her feet. Through the lattice she can spy the passers in the street. There is the one that standeth at the door, and turleth at the pin. Now speak and say, my popinjay, if I shall let him in. Then up and spake the popinjay that flew abone her head, Gay, let him in that twirls the pin, he cometh thee to wed. O when he came the parlour in, a woeful man was he, and din ye ken your lover again, say well thou loveth thee. And how would I ken you love me, sir, that have been so long away? And how would I ken you love me, sir? You never told me so. Never told me say. Said lady dear, and the salt, salt tear came running down his cheek. I have sent thee tokens of my love, this many and many a week. Oh, didna get the rings, lady, the rings of the good so fine? I wis they have sent to thee, fourscore and 9. They came to me, said that lady fair. Said that fair lady. It has to rhyme. Wow, they were the flimsiest things, said the chain o' God my dog to hound. It is made the self-same rings. And didn't you get the locks of my own black hair? Well, I sent by post, I sent by box. Well, I sent by the carrier. They came to me, said that fair lady, and I prithee sent no mair. Said the cushion so red for my doggie's head, it stuffed with the locks of hair. And didn't you get the letter, lady, tied with a silken string? When I sent to thee from the far country a message of love to bring? It came to me from the far country with its silken string and all. But it wasn't prepaid, said that high-born maid, so I gave them to take it away. That was not nice. Sorry. Oh, ever alack, you sent it back. It was written so clearly and well. Now the message it brought and the boon that it sought, I must even say it myself. Then up and spake the popinjay, so wisely counselled he, now say it in the proper way, get down upon thy knee. The lover he turned both red and pale, got down upon his knee. O lady, hear the wansome tale that I have to tell to thee. For 5 long years and 5 long years I courted thee by looks, by nods and winks, by smiles and tears, as I have read in books. For 10 long years, O weary hours, I courted thee by signs, by sending game, by sending flowers, by sending valentines. For 5 long years and 5 long years I've dwelt in the far country, till that my mind should be inclined more tenderly to me. Now 30 years are gone and past, I am come from a foreign land. I am come to tell thee my love at last. O lady, give me thy hand. The lady she turned, not pale nor red, but she smiled a pitiful smile. Sick a courtin' as yours, my man, she said, takes a long and weary while. And out and laughed the popinjay, a laugh of bitter scorn. A courtin' done in such a way, it ought not to be borne. With that the doggie barked aloud, and up and down he ran, and tugged and strained his chain, O God, all for to bite the man. Oh, hush thee, gentle popinjay, oh, hush thee, doggie dear, there is a word I fair would say, it needeth he should hear. I louder screamed the lady fair, to still her doggie's bark, ever louder shouted the maid, to make the lady hark. Shrill and more shrill the popinjay kept up his angry squall. I trow the doggie's voice that day was louder than them all. The serving men and serving maids sat by the kitchen fire. They heard such a din in the parlour within as made them much admire. Out spake the boy in buttons, I ween he wasn't a thin. Now what will take the parlour gate and stay this deadline din? And they have taken a kerchief, casted their kevils in. For what will it take the parlour gate and stay the deadline din? When on that boy the kevil fell, to stay the fearsome noise. Gave in, they cried, whatever betide, thou prince of button boys. Soon he has taken a supple cane to beat the dog so fat. The doggie yelled and the doggie howled, the louder I for that. Soon he has taken a mutton bane, the doggie hushed his noise, and followed down the kitchen stair, that prince of button boys. Then sadly spake that lady fair, with a frown upon her brow, O dearer to me it is, my doggie, than a dozen such as thou. No use for sighs and tears, no use at all to fret. Since you've been so well for 30 years, you may be a wee bit longer yet. Sadly, sadly, he crossed the floor and twirled at the pin. Sadly, he went through the door, where sadly he came in. Again I had a popinjay to fly above my head, to tell me what I ought to say. I had by this been wed. Again I find another lady, he said, with sighs and tears. I wis my courtin' shall not be another 30 years. For again I find a lady gay, exactly to my taste. I'll pop the question, a or nay, in 20 years at most. So then, that's the end of the poem. But then it has some definitions for some of the words. The next one is, and this will be the last one, Melancholetta. With saddest music all day long she soothed her secret sorrow. At night she sighed, I fear 'twas wrong such cheerful words to borrow. Dearest, a sweeter, sadder song I'll sing to thee tomorrow. I thanked her, but I could not say that I was glad to hear it. I left the house at break of day, and did not venture near it, till time I hoped had worn away, her grief for naught could cheer it. My dismal sister, couldst thou know the wretched home thou keepest? Thy brother, drowned in daily woe, is thankful when thou sleepest. For if I laugh, however low, when thou'rt awake, thou weepest. I took my sister the other day, excuse the slang expression, to Sadler's Wells to see the play, in hopes the new impression might in her thoughts from grave to gay effect some slight digression. I asked 3 friends of mine from town to join us in our folly, whose mirth, I thought, might serve to drown my sister's melancholy. The lively Jones, the sportive Brown, and Robinson the jolly. I need not tell of soup and fish, and solemn silence swallowed, the sobs that ushered in each dish, and its departure followed. Nor yet my wish to be the cheese I hollowed. Some desperate attempts were made to start a conversation. Madam, the lively Jones essayed, which kind of recreation, hunting or fishing, have you made your special occupation? Her lips curved downward instantly, as if of India rubber. Hounds in full cry I like, she said. Oh, how I long to snubber. A fish, a whale's the one for me, it's so full of blubber. The night's performance was King John. It's dull, she wept, and so. A while I let her tears flow on, she said, they soothed her woe so. At length the curtain rose upon Bombastus Furioso. In vain we roared, in vain we tried to rouse her into laughter. Her pensive glancers wandered wide from orchestra to rafter. Tear upon tear, she said and sighed, and silence followed after. All right, I will leave us there with plenty more to go, but that's it for now. I'm at over 20 minutes, so I will leave you. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the little bit of sunshine that you've been able to see. I would have rolled the windows down, but then the car noise would be really loud. So with that, as I said, I will leave you. I appreciate your time. As always, be the change you wish to see in the world, everyone. Ciao bella.